President Biden signed a bipartisan landmark gun bill that he said will save lives. But will it? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Last week, President Biden signed a bipartisan gun reform bill into law. Congress passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act in response to the shootings at a school in Uvalde, Texas, and a supermarket in Buffalo, New York last month. Bipartisan is literally in the name. That's how rare it is in Congress right now. This gun control bill was a major landmark, according to every single media outlet, who all apparently use the same thesaurus. Really, a landmark. It seems a bit dramatic. 15 Republican senators crossed party lines to vote for this bill, helping it pass the 60-vote threshold to avoid the filibuster. And 14 House Republicans voted for it alongside Democrats. Wait, Republicans and Democrats actually worked together and accomplished something? I take it back, this is a landmark. Forget Mount Rushmore. I want to see this bill on my next family vacation. This is way more inspiring and unbelievable. Senate Minority Leader Mitch MCConnell was a driving force on the Republican side in favor of this bill. He said it will help make these horrifying incidents less likely while fully upholding the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. But more importantly, this bill had the support of Matthew McConaughey, who's from Uvalde. He praised the bill as being all right. This bill does a number of things that supporters say will help prevent future mass shootings. It will expand background checks for young buyers, including showing their juvenile records. It closes the boyfriend loophole by making it illegal for someone to buy a gun for 5 years after they are convicted of domestic violence against their partner. It makes it a federal crime to buy guns for someone else who wouldn't pass a background check, known as a straw purchase. It requires most gun sellers to be federally licensed and to perform background checks. And more than half of this bill's estimated $13 billion budget will go towards mental health programs in schools and communities. This bill also provides federal funding to states for implementing red flag laws. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. After signing the bill, President Biden had this to say.
While this bill doesn't do everything I want, it does include actions I've long called for that are going to save lives.
Wow, the most significant gun reform bill in 30 years, and his response is, this doesn't do everything I want? That's like getting a new car on your 16th birthday and saying, it doesn't have a sunroof? Thanks anyway, I guess. So will these measures save lives? I'll get into that right after the break. Welcome back. President Biden said the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act gun bill will save lives, but it doesn't have everything he wanted in it. Some experts agree with him. They see this bill as a step in the right direction, but note that it doesn't go far enough. Many think that there should also be bans on high-capacity magazines, and the age at which semi-automatic weapons can be purchased should be raised from 18 to 21. I'm not sure how much that would help, though. After all, here in New York, it's illegal for anyone under the age of 21 to smoke pot, and yet there are countless high 16-year-olds screwing up my order at Taco Bell every week. I said, hold the pickles on my gordita. I didn't even think you had pickles here. So while this gun bill doesn't have everything, it has a lot. It's practically a miracle it got passed, considering how much Democrats and Republicans don't agree on, well, anything. Heck, not agreeing with each other is literally a selling point to their bases. Gee, isn't tribalism fun? The two biggest hurdles to getting this bill passed were the boyfriend loophole and the red flag laws. The boyfriend loophole refers to the fact that background checks flagged anyone who was convicted of domestic abuse against someone they lived with, were married to, or had a child with. But background checks didn't flag someone who was just in a romantic relationship with someone they abused, but didn't meet those other criteria. Many Republicans were against closing this loophole because they felt it went too far in preventing gun access to certain citizens. Also against us were the guys who say, whoa, boyfriend? Can we just keep having fun and not put a label on this? I'm not looking for anything serious right now. But the bigger controversy is over red flag laws, otherwise known as extreme risk protection orders. Red flag laws allow family members and school officials to petition courts to take away someone's guns or ban them from getting a gun. It also gives police and government enormous arbitrary power over citizens' Second Amendment rights. But hey, what's the worst thing that could happen if the government is given enormous arbitrary power? So it's easy to see why Republicans, and anyone else for that matter, weren't comfortable encouraging this sort of thing. As of now, 19 states, along with the District of Columbia, have some form of red flag law on their books. Wait, Florida has red flag laws? That's shocking, considering how just deciding to live in Florida is a big red flag. Now look, red flag laws aren't an inherently bad idea. Being able to properly warn authorities and giving them the power to act can indeed prevent mass shootings and even suicides. According to a study from the University of California, Davis, California red flag laws allegedly prevented 58 mass shootings, as well as countless cases of self-harm and harm to others. However, this raises a bit of an ethical dilemma, because it essentially means punishing someone before they commit any crime. Who's to say they were actually going to do anything? I saw this subject discussed in a fascinating documentary once. You should check it out. It's called Minority Report. So will these red flag laws, along with the other measures in the bill, save lives, as President Biden suggests? I can answer that with a resounding, confident 100% maybe. Gun control alone isn't enough to stop mass shootings and gun violence. I talked about this almost 5 years ago, and last year. And I'll probably still be talking about this 40 years from now. And that's because gun violence is a complex issue with no clear, simple solution. Also, red flag laws can easily be abused. As I mentioned in a story a few days ago, many gun control measures were put in place during the Jim Crow era to prevent black Americans from carrying guns. So the Supreme Court ruling from last week that overturned New York's law that required citizens to be licensed to carry a gun was actually a victory for equal rights, since this law disproportionately targeted the black community. That's why civil rights activists supported this ruling along with the NRA. But the concern with red flag laws is that they could lead to anyone being targeted if someone doesn't want them to have guns. It could easily be abused under the guise of public safety. So while this bill may in fact save some lives, it's a gamble. And no form of gun control will be 100% effective, since criminals will still find ways to get guns. The same way high 16-year-olds working at Taco Bell will still find ways to put pickles in my gordita. So what do you think? Will this gun bill save lives? Leave your comments below. And remember, America Uncovered is supported mainly by viewers. Be sure to visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered. Contribute $1 or more per episode. We rely on your support to keep making great episodes. Or join our exclusive censorship-free social media community on Locals. Check out americauncovered.locals.com. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.